It's Marshall Chess here. I hope you enjoyed those podcasts about my father. I want to tell you, it was so therapeutic for me. I dug deep into his son's feelings about his dad. Well, let me tell you, I've got a surprise for you because it was a surprise for me. We came across an interview of my father. I immediately knew who it was. It was our sales and promo executive, Dick LaPalm, at the Chess Building right before my father died, interviewing my father. Well, I had never heard the interview before. It blew my mind, of course, to hear my father's voice. And now I'm going to present it to all of you. So I hope you enjoy this very, very rare interview, one of the rare few my father ever did, with my father, Leonard Chess, and Dick LaPalm.
All right, when and where did you first become acquainted with blues music?
During my the time I spent at the Macambo Lounge.
What's the Macambo Lounge?
It was a night spot where all the musicians used to come in and jazz after 4 o'clock and really let their hair down.
Could you recall for us your early impressions of South Side Chicago back in 1946, and what events led you to record a thing called Union Man Blues and Bilbo's Dead?
Well, as far as the events in Chicago in 1946, I don't think it's much different than it is now, except that we're not, you're not as segregated as you used to be. You have people living all through Chicago, white as well as colored on the south side. And what led me to record Union Man Blues was I had an artist during my ownership of the Macambo Lounge. During a jam session, I picked up an artist that was jamming, and we thought it would make a good addition to the combo I had in there as a vocalist. And after employing him there as a vocalist, I had numerous record companies speak to this fella, Andrew Tibbs. And after 2-3 weeks of various companies hitting on him, I asked them what they wanted, and they told me they wanted to record him. And after kicking around a little bit, I figured they know something. They're in the business, and I was green. I didn't know anything about it. So they want to record him. He must be good. So we went ahead and recorded him.
How about Bilbo's Dead?
Well, that was the other side of Union Man Blues. That was the flip side. Although we did have a lot of trouble with it at first. It was right after Bilbo death in the South, and this writer who wrote the song, who I remember was Andrew Tibbs, he wrote a lot of meanings that were in between line meanings, and we had a little trouble with the law enforcement in the South at that time. Of course, we're going back 20 some years, and a lot of those records were broken up right out from the record shop's shelves.
Could you give us your candid impressions, Leonard, about such artists as Chuck Berry, Muddy Waters, Bo Diddley, Wolf, Little Waller? Any of them. Chuck Berry first.
Let's go in rotation. Chuck Berry was born after Muddy Waters. He was one of our first artists. I think Andrew Tibbs was our first recording of Union Man Blues and Bilbo's Dead. And that record was a pretty big record, and then the artists started coming in. And Muddy Waters came in there and asked me if he could record, and I listened to him. Of course, being owner of the club and having various talents come in, well, he sang a song, and I got the goose pimples, and I felt he had something there because it affected me. And that was the first recording of Muddy Waters.
What was Muddy's first recording?
Oh, I think Honeybee, or I really don't recall.
Did you personally do the session,
I
Leonard?
can't be satisfied. I did most of the recording. For the first record was recorded at Universal, but after the first record we accumulated some money and we built our own console with a tape recorder, and we used to do our own recording, our own engineering.
How about Bo Diddley? Your first impressions of him, or your candid impressions of Bo Diddley?
Bo Diddley came in the studio and he sang. He sang a song of ham bones. I don't know whoever may be listening to this tape may be much younger than I am, but that was a popular song years ago, and I told him I couldn't use it because the song was out, and to go back home and change it around. And he did, and came up with Bo Diddley.
How about Chuck Berry?
Well, Chuck Berry was struggling. He went to many record companies. I think in Chicago mostly. He told me that he went to see Mercury and they turned him down, and he went to Columbia, and it used to be a local label called Premium Records, and they turned him down. And he walked in, and I listened to his tape. He had a tape recorder and a song on it called Ida Red, which was more of a Western type of song, and I told him that I wasn't interested in any Western music. And again, I told him to go back and change it around to something that I was familiar with. And he came back and with his band, who consisted of 3 pieces, him and piano player and a drummer, and I think I added Willie Dixon to the session, and we cut Maybelline. It was I didn't think much of this particular song, and about 2 weeks later I made a trip to New York, and I had a dub with me. And Alan Freed was a disc jockey in New York at that time at WINS. And I gave him the dub, and I says, play this. And he played it. He said, what's the name of it? I said, I don't know. He said, what's the name of the artist? I don't know, just play it. And he played it, and by the time I got back to Chicago, I had calls from my distributors that wanted to know what type of record did I give Alan Freed to play.
How about your candid impressions of Howlin' Wolf?
Well, Howlin' Wolf I met in West Memphis, Arkansas. I say it early 50s, could be 1951. And Modern Record recorded him on a thing called Howling for My Baby. And they never signed him. Nothing happened to the record. I went ahead and recorded him, and with a song called How Many More Years, and he took off like wildfire. He's a country gentleman.
How about Little Walter, Leonard?
Well, Little Walter was one of Muddy's men in his band. He played the harp for Muddy, and we got through with a session, and we were just jamming around, and he played this juke that later on we called it juke. At that time he just played an instrumental, and it came out pretty good. And we released it, and that made Little Walter, and Little Walter went out on his own after that record.
You and Phil experimented with various sounds and techniques that revolutionized the rhythm and blues industry. Could you tell us, for example, how you hit upon that famous 1/10 of a second delay? How did you hit upon that?
That was mostly tape echo, what they call now. At that time, I don't think we knew what it was. It was just turning up the knob to a level where we'd get feedback. And you turn up enough of it, just so it don't cause you no distortion, just give you enough feedback and liveness to give you that 1/10, which later on became very popular.
Was this in place of an echo chamber?
That time that was it. At that time there wasn't such a thing as an echo chamber.
Well, you had mentioned some time ago, Leonard, about picking up a pipe or some such thing.
Well,
you want to tell us about that?
The first echo chamber we built in our studio back of our office was, we got I think it was about a 18-inch sewer pipe, and 2 lengths of it was probably, the length of it must have been about 24 feet, and we hung it in the ceiling in a back room. We put a mic on one side of it and a speaker on the other, and that gave us the echo.
You made some pretty important talent discoveries, both you and Phil, during your tours through the South. Did you not, Len?
Yes, I've been very fortunate, lucky I should say, more than fortunate.
How important to Chess Checker was the work of blues great Willie Dixon?
Willie wound up to be a very good writer. He had a lot of hits that he's written, and we were pretty good as a team. He wrote the song, and I listened to it, and there was something in the song that had to catch my ear, whether it was pertaining to love or pertaining to suffering, but something that caught me. And once we picked the song out, we would go for sustained riff in the background, and I'd have everybody play a different type of riff that would fit this particular song. And we came up with that riff. In fact, one of those riffs, I was sitting in a movie watching the Golden Arm, if some of you recall, with Frank Sinatra, and somebody that did see the picture, you remember that horn riff used to come out like break, and I sat there and I scratched my head. I says, man, this is my riff. And that riff was actually done up in the studio, where we tried various riffs to fit the song for a sustained riff in the background, and that was one of them.
Leonard, could you tell us anything about the 1948 session that produced the Muddy Waters recording of Rolling Stone?
I think Rolling Stone was a Muddy Waters composition. He wrote that, and it was actually taken off of an old expression, Rolling Stone don't get her no moss. Mm-hmm. And he wrote the composition, and very good, and became very popular.
The Chess Checker sound turned up later in a lot of pop records. Can you recall some specific examples, and what do you think about the early attempts by the pop people and major record firms to cover R&B hits?
Well, I hate to talk about another company, but I think Dot Records, who was owned and supervised by Randy Wood from Gallatin, Tennessee, he got his first start in taking an R&B song and recording it with a white artist. Of course, there was nothing was added to it to make it pop flavor. In fact, the arrangement was copied from one of our records, and all they did was have a white singer sing it.
Can you make an example of that, Leonard?
Well, "I'll Be Home" by Pat Boone was, if I'm not mistaken, he had a million record seller on that. Mm-hmm. "Sincerely" by the McGuires.
Well, who did them originally is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, "I'll Be Home" was done in our studios by the Flamingos. I picked that song up in Shreveport, Louisiana. I don't know what made me pick up that song, but out of about 30, 40 songs, I brought this one back, and I had the Flamingos do it. "Sincerely" was done by McGuire Sisters, and was done by the Moonglows originally. "Most of All" was another one that the Moonglows written and recorded and done up by McGuire Sisters. Oh, we had numerous songs. In fact, the Rolling Stone group from England made their fame on some of our compositions that we produced in our own studios that we gave birth to, and the Beatles made their name on a lot of our tunes.
Mm-hmm. What major changes, Leonard, have you noticed in rhythm and blues music of 1946 and the present? Any major changes that you can see between what was being done in 46 and what's being done now with R&B tunes and recordings?
Well, no, it's changed around quite a bit. It's not no more that the white artist covers a Negro artist and then the white buy it, because the trend has changed to such a way that no matter what color the artist is, it's still bought by white or by the colored artist. Mostly, they added strings to it. They pronounced their words a little clearer. But I don't personally see no greater changes.
The British singer Eric Burdon told me recently that, in his opinion, Chuck Berry would have become a big star as Elvis Presley in this country if Chuck Berry had been Caucasian. What are your feelings in this respect?
I think Chuck Berry was a big artist, and I don't think the Caucasian part would have helped him any. Chuck Berry was good. He was contented with what he was doing. He wasn't looking at in higher windows, that's all, and I think that's the thing that kept him back. Chuck Berry wanted to do his own producing, his own arranging, his own writing, and it cannot be done. I think at this point he's realizing that.
Do you think, Leonard, that you don't think then that his color had anything to do with the fact that he did not achieve the fame that an Elvis Presley received?
I don't think the color did it. It was the trend of the market and the buying power, which there is no differential at this time. That at that time it did exist. We're going back 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and that kept him from becoming an Elvis Presley. And Chuck Berry was shaking his knees before I ever heard of an Elvis Presley.
It's been said that a lot of talents dropped in and out of the blue during the 2 years that Aristocrat Record Company was in existence, and that some other famous artists came to you in a similar manner from after Chess Records was formed. How about some recollections of those days and the Chess brothers' rather unusual method of discovering blues talent? Did they just come in out of blues? Is that true? They just dropped in and knocked on your door, or what?
No, I used to travel by car to the south quite a bit, and in fact I used to have a magnet cord. Some of you probably don't know it, they haven't heard of that name, but it was a very popular tape recorder at one time, and I used to carry one in the car and record them right on location, whether it would be on a plantation farm or it would be in a radio station. I remember I recorded a hit one time during a record being played on the air. They only had one board, and one channel was used for the air, and then the other channels was used to record this artist. And the artist had to get through in the length of that record.
Leonard, you once mentioned to me, this is, as you know, is going to be all dubbed out, so John Land at Carol A could take this out, but I think it'd be interesting to the listeners, that how you would take a record and go into a town, into the South, for instance, with records in the trunk of your car and go to a radio station and get the local disc jockey to play it and then call on. Would you tell us about that? That's really a very interesting thing.
Oh, I used to walk in a town and created the man before I actually went to my distributor. When I opened up the front door of my distributor, he would ask me, have I got the record with me? And although times have changed and you can't do those things anymore, you got to wait for a record day, and you got to go through the PD, you have to go through the music director before a record is put on. At one time we used to go in there and the disc jockey was on the air and he'd take the record out of your hand and put it right on the turntable and play it.
And that's how you knew.
Mm-hmm.
Maybelline, why can't you be true? Oh, Maybelline, why can't you be true? You done started back doing the thing you used to do. A Cadillac pulled up the heart of the foe. Before got a hop and wouldn't do no more. The gun got a cloud and started to rain. I tooted my horn for the passing lane. The rainwater blowing all under my hood. I knew that was doing my motor good. Maybelline, why can't you be true? Oh, Maybelline, why can't you be true?